Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. So, apologies there, we're just getting the video going. I'm going to be doing this as an actual video, as you can tell. Now, what is this, you may be asking? This is going to be the, well, I suppose you could see the, reinvention of my game against Alex. I did ask him, and he agreed. We're going to be moving to the new update, which is what we're on right now. So we have new units, we have new options, and the game has reintroduced the breakthrough mechanic. I figured it's probably for the best to actually show people the mechanics as they are, and as they should be. So, we'll see what we can do here. We've also got the experience to take on from what we've learned in our actual game, that was already ongoing. So I'm looking forward to it. We should be able to eclipse the previous game and hopefully do so in a more interesting manner with the experience that we've gained. So just take a look at some of the new units. We have a beyond R2 over here. So we have like advanced elements, yeah, combat engineers. These guys help to deal with mines. At least we just have more capability, more sapper capability, combat engineering capability. There do appear to be new units, such as these defensive echelons composed of infantry and divisional anti-tank units. So these ones are pretty interesting. We also do have new defensive engineer units. So these are basically the ground versions of the MI8 HIPs that we had already. So advanced elements of combat engineers detached from large units to support the advance of units spearheading attacks. Very useful to have there. They don't contribute on the attack, but they do contribute on the defense there. They do boost allied units, but I would have to see how that works out there. It appears to be on the defense, but they're pretty useful to have there. But yes, with the new units, obviously with the reintroduction of Breakthrough, it is going to be interesting. And what we're going to go ahead and do then is make our choices first and foremost. So, what I want to go ahead and do then in this is really take on board what we learned beforehand. I think Austria can be done. The introduction of the Italians is... it's one of those. We can win here, and it does open up the southern front in a way that I can't really gain elsewhere. I mean, maybe I can break through with the Czechs over here, but I'm not too keen on that. There's some different things I'm going to be doing in this game, and a lot of it does kind of depend on what the opposing player in the form of Alex will be doing, so we'll see about that. But what I'm thinking is that with having Breakthrough on, we should be able to be more aggressive over here in the centre, because I can actually push on forward. Other areas as well, we could potentially push on forward. Being able to deal more reliably with mines as well will enable us to push further and faster. So what I'm hoping to do is that we can move further into Holstein, or we can move further into Germany here, and really push forward from the German border sooner rather than later. But we'll see. It'd be nice to be able to achieve that before the Americans and before the NATO forces really start to arrive on the border here. But we'll see. So we're going to go ahead and choose our cards. I'm going to go ahead and choose Air Superiority. I'm going to take Stunning Planning here. So Air Superiority gives us +1 combat factor to air, which is very useful. Though it will be automatically cancelled after 2 turns, and at that point I would have to either be gone or I replace it with ground attack. But we'll see here. So I'm going to go with strategic. I started with the Stunning Planning over here actually. So let's see. Following Soviet doctrine that only the offensive wins wars, all warpack units gain +1 MP, but -3 replacements for 4 turns. Now that's useful to have, I must admit, because we need to be able to move across here and then move on towards Lüneburg. I believe we can't. Oh, so we can't break through here. But I do need to be able to push through in force here, as it allows me to break through the area towards Fastback sooner rather than later. Having additional MP is just going to be useful across the board, really. So let's see. Industrial Sabotage here. I'm going to play that for 10 victory points. I could either go for limited preparation or total preparation. I went for limited preparation beforehand. Total preparation is quite expensive. It does allow you to rebuild 3 damaged Soviet units, reconstitute 3 destroyed units per turn. You also gain additional replacements, like 10 there, additional income too. Limited is 2% less income, 4 less replacements each turn, 2 units repaired, 2 units rebuilt, but it's significantly cheaper. And I think I may stick with it for the reason of, well, if I go with this one, I can actually prepare the Warsaw Pact itself a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and take limited preparation, like so. I'm going to prepare What I need to do here then is, because we have a couple options, and I tell you what, these ones are absolute monsters. These cards are absolute monsters. So, the Soviet DDR Joint Command, considered most reliable to Warpact member states, nonetheless, Soviet officers take command of the DDR Volksarmy. East German HQs are more efficient, so I'm going to go ahead and take that. And you can see here that we have -6 to the stacking, and you can see that their morale. The star over here is an interesting one. But essentially, what we do, we have pact with Soviet officers, and you can see that we actually have -8 here. So the good thing about that is, well, I'm going to be able to fit more troops into these armies, which is going to make quite the difference. Rather than it being like let's say those two armies there could reduce the stack by -12. Now they can reduce it by, -16. That's like pretty good. That's pretty good. That's really good. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it for the Joint Command as well. So paranoid of Pact allies, the Red Army takes command of Warpact headquarters. Pact HQs perform better. So you see here -6, -4, 4, 4, 6, 6, 6. 2 morale. Yep, 8, 8, 8, 8. Yep, look at that. All 8s, and the morale has increased, which is really, really good. What that means is I'm actually going to be able to better command my Warsaw Pact allied forces. They're also going to fight better. They have that higher morale, which is going to make a big difference. So not only am I going to be able to pack more troops into battle, they're going to fight better in that battle too. So that really makes a big difference. It is expensive though, we do have to pay for it. So we are going to go to war with Austria as well. I sometimes do ponder about this one, because it is a question of like, is it worth it? But I have troops on the Hungarian-Austrian border here, as well as the Czech-Austrian border. And it's not just Soviet troops, there's also the Czech troops over here as well. And they can make it down here feasibly quickly. Now, Vienna, there's no breakthrough. There is breakthrough here, so in theory you could get a force over here. The good news is, by having the new commands over here, I can actually fit more troops in here, and they will fight better at that too. So that's going to make a big difference. It'll actually allow us to push through Austria sooner rather than later, so I'm pretty glad for that. But again, just for the Czechs being able to have that boost in command there makes a pretty big difference. Having that morale, like we did see that our Czech forces weren't performing very well beforehand, so this makes a pretty big deal. It's a big difference, really. I think what I'd like to go ahead and do then is, well, we have a number of Soviet forces over here that will arrive in Hungary when we do declare war. We also have VDV over here. We do have these forces over here as well. There's another decision that we could make here. Like, typically, I've sent the 11th Army up to Scandinavia to fight, but there's a couple options that you can actually take on board here. Like, for example, I have the 26th Motorized Division over here. This is a guard unit. If we decide to actually land amphibiously on Denmark, for example, there's a card option that allows me to deconstruct permanently the 26th Motorized Division, and then essentially what happens is it's like their component parts are spread out amongst the amphibious forces and it boosts them yet again. So it's like, depending on what Alex chooses, if he chooses to reinforce Denmark, if he doesn't, we can take Denmark turn 1, which would be quite interesting. I don't know how long we'd be able to hold it. Like, he could throw some strong forces against it. But it's like, for example, if I take Denmark, that's 50 victory points right there. It also does deny him, because what happens is, if I send the 11th Army to Scandinavia, he can send the US Marine Corps to Scandinavia as well. But if he doesn't send the US Marine Corps to Scandinavia, they arrive here in Denmark, I do believe. So what I'm thinking here is, essentially, if he decides to go and send the amphibious... Yeah, if he sends the Marines to the north, okay, that's going to be a problem. If he doesn't, I can actually prevent them from, in theory, arriving here. Or at least I could have a chance of destroying them, or preventing their arrival, or even moving them elsewhere, which would be quite nice. But I'm thinking if I land here with a good enough force and a VDV, etc., I can then ideally push down, or at least hold Denmark. And if I hold Denmark, he can't really retreat, and then we can finish him off over here on the mainland, which would be quite useful. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here then is I'm going to prepare Czechoslovakia. The French delay one could be interesting, but I'm not too sure, because it's a bit of a random one. It's like, I don't know if it's worth it. Alright. Minus 10 income to NATO. That costs us 5 income per turn though. So I don't know how worthwhile it is. Same as with that one. This one can be cancelled though pretty quickly. I've not actually seen it actually succeed. But anyhow, what we want to go ahead and do here then is I want to have enough for Warsaw Pact modernization. So I can either mobilize Hungary, I can either mobilize the Polish, or I could potentially mobilize East Germany. East Germany gain more income. I could go for Doomed again, but with Doomed, it gives us 50 VP, but it also gives NATO 30 VP, which we found can actually mean quite a lot. He can actually do quite a lot with that. So I don't want to give him those options. And in fact, actually, I'm going to go ahead and play this card because it does deny him 2 VP, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it also means that he can't... If he has like a VP option that's like 10 or something like that, he can't really do all that much with that. So I could potentially deny him an option there. Alright. I could gain 3 VP here, which doesn't make all that much of a difference, but it could in the end. So we'll play it. And 8 income, 2 damage units, 6 income, 1 damage unit, 1 destroyed unit per turn. See, this is a consideration here. I am going to be supporting this with Soviet forces. We're going to be going up against the Austrians and the Italians, but the Italians have to arrive here. I also do have the Czechs and I do have Soviet forces, and there's going to be Soviet forces over here. So it's not all on the Hungarians, so I think I'd rather build the Poles up. The Poles have got more fighting to do. The Hungarians less so in a sense. So I think we'll go for that. I want to keep the Poles really up to strength. They do have to help me take out the forces over here in like Holstein and in Denmark itself. And really, I need them to manage that. I'm going to have the Poles basically take care of this by themselves for the most part. I'm going to be able to have the Soviets turn south. So I'm going to go ahead and mobilize the Polish. So we'll go with that. I'm going to go ahead and build up the engineer unit and the support unit. The reason for that is these units are actually fairly expensive. Though arguably I could build up the others. Maybe this one's not as worthwhile rebuilding, but then again, the cost is quite considerable. Like reinforcing this is not cheap, so I think I'll just get these guys done and then they're done. These other units are not as expensive to reinforce, so that's fine. Right, so we'll go with that. And what we'll do then is go to the next turn. Well, the next phase. And you can see here we have a deployed in the north option. So the 11th Army, Baltic Military District, is diverted from Central Europe theatre to the northern theatre. So Norway acts. This increases chances of victory in the north, prevents the chance of defeat at worst. But I'm not going to go for that. There's a new card that's been added, actually. Myself and Alex discussed this one, and we spoke to the developer about this one. So this is one, essentially, where you can have this agreement. So the tension that led to the war do not prevent exchange between leaders to decide to ban tactical, nuclear, and chemical weapons from the battlefield. All such options are removed from the game. A general nuclear war remains possible, however, if a nuclear tension index threshold is reached. So essentially, you can pick that card. I don't know if it applies to both sides, or at least just this side. I'd have to figure that. I'd have to ask about that one, actually. But you can take that as an option. I believe you can take it as an option in AI games, and essentially you can prevent like yourself or the AI from going chemical or nuclear if you want to try and prolong the game. But yes, we'll see. I'm not going to go ahead... I'm not going to take the air assault operations because I do want to have the opportunity to potentially land in Denmark or elsewhere if I choose to do so. I want to have that option. So I'm not going to take these other cards right now. Not right now. Move to the next phase. So you can see that we have a KGB brigades over here. And that cost me 7 replacements. I have here 60 right now. Cost me 7, but these KGB brigades are pretty useful. The fact is you do have more units that can provide a morale boost to other units. They also do have a little bit of strength, so they're not bad. The cards I really want to have here are PACT Modernization, which is 30 VP. And I want to have Gosplan, which is 70 VP. So I need at least 100 VP kept in reserve. If I invade Austria, I get another 10, which would give me 123. I'm not too sure if I could mobilize Hungary at that point. So it does kind of come down to, do I want to give this unit? I think I will take the KGB brigades because I can have them really contribute to the front across the board. It also is more strength that I can actually make use of. So what I'm going to go ahead and do then is, let's see. This unit over here, no KGB. There are KGB already. They haven't actually arrived yet, the free ones. But anyhow, I'll have KGB deployed here. There, there, there. And then I can have another one, which I'll have to head north. Another one could also head north here. So let's see, I do have East German forces that will be coming this way as well. So I'll probably have another one here for them. Oh, of course I can deploy it here. Fair enough. I want to deal with Berlin as quickly as I can. I really don't want to have Berlin hold out this turn. But we'll see. What I'll probably do then is we'll attack Berlin in the first turn, as you would imagine. Ideally, I can try and destroy the Berlin defenders, and if I could get very, very lucky, I might be able to seize Berlin. I don't think I'm going to be able to manage it, but what I'm going to go ahead and do then after that point is just have like siege artillery sit on it with some garrison units, basically, and we'll just besiege Berlin and have them eventually surrender. But if I can cause as much damage as I can in the first go, that would be great. I will have a Soviet army deal with that, just because there is a higher morale there. Right, down here. I need to have morale here, just so I can be more assured of breaking through. Over here as well. Essentially, every one of these province tiles needs to have that KGB unit in there, just to make sure it can break through more easily. Yeah, you can see that these zero-cost ones... But again, they're only one strength point. So the issue is they could quite easily be wiped out. How many of those do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 5 or so there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 5 there, unless I miscounted. So having these additional KGB brigades, yeah, they've got 4 strength. They actually do have combat stats. They're not amazing, but again, they do contribute and they do ensure that we have that morale. I mean, one of these is equivalent to almost all the KGB units that we already have. So yeah, it just means that we have KGB that can spread out across the board. Doesn't mean that we have a greater access to morale boost. So here we go. We have the agreement if I so wish to use it, but I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I do want to have the option of nuclear chemical if I need it. I probably won't use it, but you never know. So we're going to go ahead and take on the PACT modernization. So you'll see here then T-55s. T-55s over here. Just units over here with T-55s. T-72. Lots of units will benefit here. We'll convert them. Yeah, so let's see. You can see it looks like maybe BMP-2 there. I'm not too sure actually. It's got a long barrel. It might be BMP-1, but it kind of looks like a BMP-2. I think BMP-2. But anyhow, you can see there that it's a T-55 AM2 in the background there. And again, T-55 upgrades. T-55 there with the upgrades. We have the T-72, I think it's the M, which is like a more modernized variant of it. But yeah, essentially just means that these forces will fight better. We're going to go for the Gosplan military priority. And I'll convert air power and ground forces. Soviet army is pretty vast. Pretty vast. So do note that we have things like the SA-8s over here. I think those are the Geckos. They get upgraded. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, so that's already upgraded there. Importantly, air power as well. And importantly, having more and superior air power makes such a big difference. So let's see. Where's the air defense here, then? Yeah, there you go. Like, for example, having the SA-8s upgrade to the SA-11s is a pretty big deal. SA-12s there as well. Pretty big deal. There's still a few Strellas or Geckos knocking around, but not as many. So we can take the agreement if we so we should do so. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. We'll move on. And then I believe it would be in the next turn, essentially when Alex picks this up, that we can decide to invade Austria. We don't leave ourselves too many victory points right now at just 8. But there may be some options that give us victory points, so he may be able to grant us some. So we'll rely on that. I will then have the option for amphibious landings. I think I can have amphibious landings within the first to the third turn. So I'll see about that. If he deploys the Danish defenders, I'm not going to land at Denmark. If he doesn't deploy the Danish defenders, then I will go pretty whole hog on Denmark. And if we could seize Denmark early, that'd be quite nice. It would actually gain us something pretty solid. There's not a city here. It is basically just seizing the island of Denmark. Well, the main island. I guess Copenhagen. There are a number of units here. For example, there's a couple of air squadrons over here, some sizable ones at that, as well as most of at least a good chunk of the Danish forces. He's very likely to reinforce Denmark, but we'll see. I could have gone and retained more air mobile units, but I've decided to stick with having a VDV as an option. At the end of the day, it gives me something I can do. Another option for using a VDV would be like over here at Hanau, where there are US forces that can be defeated. There's like an engineering unit, etc. But the main thing would be having access, well, basically being behind their lines, taking out an airfield over here, which I could then use as a forward operating base quite quickly. Having it already under my control would allow me to then transfer helicopters and things that if I so wish to do so. I could also land over here at Darmstadt, the Rhine air base over here. And that also would be quite good. Initially, there's only an air defense unit, if I recall. There's also a balls deep option over here in Denmark. Over here in the Netherlands, where you can land over here in Almere. And that one really is a balls deep option. I just don't know how worthwhile it is. There are Dutch defenders, there's Belgian defenders as well nearby. But it's a question of, is it worthwhile doing? If I do drop so deep into the interior of NATO's lines, those men are never coming back, but it's also a case of, well, those men that are sent to deal with them are men that are not going to the front line. There's a couple of different locations for where the VDV can be dropped. Another such location would be over here at Lingen. And there is a German force that begins here. But it's an interesting position to be in. There are rivers over here which reduce the enemy's MP, so they would have to pay more to cross. But there are, of course, roads over here, so it does make it a little bit cheaper. It does reduce the attack. Obviously, once we seize the province, we'd have the +1 defensive bonus. We don't gain morale bonus, though, which is a bit of a shame. We landed here beforehand at Württemberg, which didn't go particularly well. I think we could land at Delmenhorst, but I might be confusing that with air mobile. But indeed, we'll take a look at that. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next phase. So what I'll do here then is I'll wait essentially for the first turn to get underway, and then we can go from there. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care, stay sexy, and stay safe. Goodbye for now.